Welcome, folks. Mil-Spec Ops Monkey here, and it is going to be our live show for Friday. It is 11 a.m. Central Time, coming to you from the great state of Texas. And without further ado, let's hop on over. Now, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and bell for notification. And remember, if you want to track the same stuff that I do and create your own watch list and kind of dig into what's going on in the skies, you can go over there and grab the Skyglass app. You can get that at avrlabs.com. Again, I am just putting that out there because I get asked all the time about this app because it is simply amazing compared to all the other ones out there. So today we're going to kick it off here in Skyglass just so you guys can see. This is a roll-up. It is a very, very active Friday. These are going to be the last 24 hours of heavy lifts, air refuelers, and kind of the R135s, et cetera, right? Anything that's kind of watching us, the reconnaissance stuff. But you can see heavy concentration here. East Coast centric, all the way from Florida, all the way up the entire coastline. Pretty incredible when you look at it all. And of course, we've got a lot of the intelligence birds we are now tracking too that are out running along that border and doing their recon. Definitely an uptick in that as well. And then this Zulu. So we're gonna come back to the Zulu one here in just a second, because I want to show you that is a drone that is coming out of the proving grounds there in Yuma, and it's just a new one that's just entered our skies. And so we've been tracking it because it's stayed up for quite some time. And so we're gonna get into that here in just a second. So let me bug down here to our watch list. This is going to be currently what we have up. That's going to be an R135 showing over the, let's see, that's going to be the Black Sea. Notice they're running end-to-end on that one, coming out of England. We got another one that just landed. There's a Sentry down, and then, of course, Jake, not from State Farm, 11, sitting there on ground in the UK. And then, of course, you see our little Guardians watching over the people. That is going to be your military intelligence balloons, those gaffs up here at the top, as they are watching everything they do in Europe. I can tell you those right there are watching. They got the whole broad brush across Europe. So now over here, there's that Zulu I was talking about. That is a drone that's been up the last couple days. Zulu 82, don't know what it's all about. It is not a balloon. I will tell you that. It is an actual drone. And then, of course, we've got some Border Patrol stuff. That's Customs and Border Patrol there. You can see active in the blues. Department of Energy, 737, out working. That's nuclear security. And you can see that one is up, been up a couple times here now that we've added it to our tracker. A couple P8s there in the Florida, Jacksonville area. Of course, you expect that. That's Jacksonville Naval Air Station. There is one of your Phoenix birds. Looks to be exiting the U.S. It is headed across the drink, it looks like, or appears to be. Then more, there is more Homeland Security. That's Customs and Border Patrol up on the north end of the U.S., right there on the border. All right, now that is going to be from a watch list perspective. One thing I did want to show you. Now check this out. This is a 24-hour roll, and I'm going to talk to it a little bit as I go through, so it's going to take a little more than a minute. I just want to show you. I gathered up from my watch list a 24-hour period of the aircraft that were up, and it was staggering. The R135s, there were 12 R135 missions up in that 24-hour period. Several E6s, 2 night watch aircraft. That's a 747 aircraft, that Doomsday airplanes. Let's see, what else do we have? And we'll just kind of go through it, but it is stacked. Here's kind of the big takeaway, and if you kind of step back and look at it and think of it from this perspective, we are, from a first time ever, watching and witnessing World War III unravel right before our eyes. Because of the apps, we're able to go back and look at all of the stuff, gathering the history as we go forward, which is pretty incredible. When you go back and look at World War I, World War II, it's basically black and whites, and it's stuff that actually happened after the fact. We are watching all of this unravel right before our very eyes just by watching the air traffic, which is unprecedented. So anyway, you can learn to appreciate that a little bit when you think about the dynamics of it all and just how you can just see it escalating every day. So, all right, we'll continue on. R135s, like I said, from an air refueling perspective, we had 125 air refuelers up over that 24-hour period. But here again, look at these. R135, R135, everywhere. Now remember that R135, a couple of those are sniffers, right? So they're looking for nukes. B703s, which is your J stars, joint stars, right? Then there's your two. There's your Gomer 84 and another E6. Notice the two 747s. One of those is Air Force One, by the way. It was up running some routes. Just looked like touch and goes. But multiple E6s. And by the way, the Rawhide 72, those C2s, that's a Navy variant. It's a little small footprint of a AWACS aircraft. That's why I'm tracking those. They have the same capabilities. They're just smaller, running off of carrier decks. And then over to Europe, as we continue on that 24-hour clock, you can see, I mean, just multiple R135s. Another one, R135, bunch of Sentries up. Look at the two R130 or the B703s, three of them down, coming in and out of Israel, which is very interesting. Remember, the B703 is mapping battlefields. The fact that they are three of those running in and out, I think, is pretty incredible. So if you roll it up, there was 125 air refuelers up over that 24-hour period, which is, I've never seen it like that. 12 R135s, which are basically, again, that aircraft can track an object the size of a soccer ball from 300 miles away. It is gathering all kinds of intelligence. The one thing I didn't notice were Q4s, which are the drones, but we seem to be gathering intel left, right, and center. And notice a lot of it was right here over the United States, which is a little bit concerning, isn't it? Right? They're watching us like hawks right now, folks. And oh, by the way, if you haven't noticed, today it is official. Roe v. Wade was overturned, and riot season has just begun. So I will imagine things are going to get stupid from this point on. So buckle up. If you're going anywhere, if you're traveling anywhere, if you're inside a city, big city, just make sure you got a plan for a plan, right? So you may have to look at your exit strategies if things get a little hot while you're working overtime, right? So, okay, let's keep on trucking here. So that is going to be the last 24-hour roll-up of the watch list. Over here to the heavy lifts, and you can see, again, East Coast centric. Remember, when we looked at the U.S. map from a night light perspective, they almost perfectly aligned with the flights that we see coming inbound, except for these flights are landing just outside of where the light locations are, which means they are probably staging or pre-staging assets outside of the cities, the major cities, okay? Now you get over to Europe. Notice Portugal and Spain seem to be an uptick in terms of us landing there. A lot of stuff right up on the borders. You can see that one there is in, there's Kaliningrad. That's the one we're watching, that other watch area. There's Berlin, added new stuff. And of course, we're into Frankfurt and Ramstein, two locations. There's an A400 headed across Europe right there. And then down here, you've got them out in the Mediterranean, and of course, Cyprus, and that one's actually coming in and out of Israel and Lebanon. So something to watch closely is because, and the reason I point out the Israel piece of this is because Israel is, we've got a lot of things happening with them. We're not really seeing it in the news. One, Flashbang is talking about adding and recognizing a capital of Palestine. He's turned his back on Israel, doesn't recognize the capital or anything that Trump did relative to Israel. So this is a complete unravel of what we thought was getting ready to take place. Although the Abraham Accords and all of the peace aspects are still, the framework is still in place, still working very actively. You just don't hear much about it. So, okay. Now we looked at the heavies. We looked at the roll-up. We've taken a look at the watch list. Let's get into air refuelers just to show you what's been happening over Europe. Again, last 24 hours, just notice we've got something out right over there, kind of Central Europe, from an air refueling perspective, which would indicate we've got fighters up in that general region, more than likely, in and out of Israel. Again, like I said, that's actually Lebanon, but in and out of there, that's a air refueler. And then let's get over here to CONUS, but just to show you, we seem to be going in and out of Israel right now quite a bit. So I think things are a little bit crazy. Notice the tracks here, those little circles sitting at about 25,000 feet. And of course, a lot of activity down by the border, which is very interesting. Again, data point, but lots and lots of air refueling, lots of activity over the East Coast as always, as you can see. Very, very active. That would indicate we've got probably a lot of fighters out over the East Coast right now. So, pretty crazy. Very elevated, too. Not what we normally see in terms of fighter support and activity. Okay. All right, let's get over here to our board. Now, this is the one I was just talking about. Notice this is going to be that Zulu 82. This is Yuma. This is where they do a lot of the proving grounds. Marine Corps is pretty heavy out there. But this is a drone sitting at 60,700 foot right now, moving at around 24 knots, just kind of lingering in the area. It did bounce down yesterday, if you'll notice, because I've been keeping track of it, all the way down here in south of Tucson. Don't know what it was doing, but rolled out, did a little turnaround, and came back. So it's got some range on it. Just don't know what it is. Don't know if it's a Q4 or if it's some type of hybrid. It could probably be a hybrid coming out of Yuma. Don't know if it's Squad X related, which, as you guys know, I've mentioned that in the past. Squad X is a new program that is a lot like Ghost Recon Future Soldier. And just a really, really slick program, to say the least. But that it could be that related, but maybe, maybe not. We'll see. Okay, over here to flight radar, just to show you what's happening with the volcanic ash alerts. This one up here in Russia is cranking. As you can see, that's a pretty big ash cloud alert range. And that's kind of right in that spot where people come across to drink. From a flight pattern perspective, that could interrupt it. So very important. Down here in the Philippines, we've got two down here. They're kind of stacked on top of each other. You can see one is Ducano and the other is, well, they're both Ducano. As I back out, it says Ibu, but I think one's Ibu, one's Ducano, honestly. But you can see that ash cloud out here in the south region of the Philippines. And then we back up, you get over to this section. Fuego right there in Guatemala is popping. And then we've got all of these down from Ruiz all the way down here to the south end by Peru, popping ash. Usually see those anyway, right? So, okay, away from the volcanic activity, and let's get over to the dumpster fire. This is flashbang scheduled for today. Absolutely nothing. Not even, I don't even see him going to the to Delaware yet. So it looks like he wraps up today at about 2 o'clock. So better than banker's hours. But yeah, there we have it. All right. Nothing really to speak of. Okay. Now let's see how he's doing. Oh my goodness. Look at this. Russia is still earning more than $100 million every single day from oil sales to Europe. Yep. Those sanctions are really working, aren't they? Tongue in cheek. All right. So this just kind of a report just to show you how our sanctions are working out. This is over here on Zero Hedge. Okay. We'll move on. Let's see what else is going on. Oh, well, look at this. Russia is basically grabbing the booty. It looks like they're saying this is criminal activity. Russia is now selling the stolen Ukrainian grain in Syrian ports. Of course. I mean, you take over the area, you're probably going to do that, right? I mean, if your country is facing hunger or shortages and there's grain sitting in the silos or on the ships, you're obviously going to take it because it's going to spoil if you don't. So he looks to be grabbing that. And then, not to be surprised by that at all. But let's talk a little bit more about feeding the beast, right? Notice Flashbang is now pumping another $450 million as we in the United States are facing unprecedented shortages on baby formula, fuel, increased inflation, all the other kind of stuff going on. And this knucklehead is basically sending money like it is water over to Ukraine. Again, add on top of all the other stuff he's already done, another $450 million package. And check this out. This time it's HIMARS. Those not familiar with these, those are a Lockheed Martin product. They are basically, it's a M142 high mobility artillery rocket systems. In addition to that, he's sending 18 patrol boats, 36,000 rounds of 105 millimeter howitzer ammo, so a bunch of artillery to go with it, small tactical vehicles, small arms, and other stuff. Unbelievable. To me, this is treason. I don't know how you do that when you're basically, it's one thing if your military is sitting fat on everything and you're ready for war and you know war's coming. But when you know that's happening and you just keep pumping stuff out to other nations and giving up your stuff and ability to fight, that's treasonous to me. And it's doesn't make any sense, does it? But yeah, this is the HIMARS system. It's basically a mobile artillery unit. So very powerful. It's got a range of about 45 miles. So if these things get anywhere near the border between Ukraine and Russia, they can start taking out Russian assets on the other side of the border or even within the country. So keep your eye on that, because that right there is going to heat things up for sure. Okay. But again, there goes our hard-earned dollars out the door. Now, here's the other piece too. History is repeating itself. This is the Ruski talking to, I don't know who he's talking to, but it's the EU and NATO basically appear to be forming a bloc. Remember, Hitler did this very same thing. He basically rallied all the nations to go up against Russia. In this case, we don't have Hitler, but you do have the NATO doing the exact same thing, right? They're basically rallying all the troops to go up against Russia, Soviet Union, and so only instigating things further, really, at the end of the day. So let's take a quick look at, let's look at the, as we say, rolling out the red carpet. Let's take a look at the current attack map. I just want to show you how things are looking from a Ukraine perspective. Notice that the Russians control, obviously they run Crimea. That's why that is solid red like that. But they are really kind of just running it in little small increments, very slow moving. I don't know why that is. I know that Russia, if they really wanted to do it, they could probably take over that entire country in just a couple of days if they really wanted to. They've got the assets in play. They're not doing it for a reason, and I think it's because they're baiting us, they're baiting NATO, and they see that by doing this, as we continue to feed all of our military equipment into the region to fight them, we are basically depleting our own, making it easy for them to come after us. So, and then, of course, on the other end of the spectrum, you've got China, who is about ready to go pop off hot on Taiwan. And so we'll just keep our eye on it, but this is just kind of a map, day 121. Who would have thunk, right? Very long war. But again, go back and look at history. World War II really kind of began in 1938 and ended in 1945. So it was a very long period. And a lot of this same stuff, kind of thing, in Europe was going on starting in 1938 with Hitler, right? The U.S. didn't get engaged until the very end, other than sending our stuff and our assets to the UK and to China, believe it or not, to fight that war through the Lend-Lease Act, okay? All right, back over here to our board. We'll continue on. Let's look at the NOTAMs. Got an interesting one that just popped on the board yesterday. This trail right here that you see running along the border, that is unmanned aerial reconnaissance. That is a new one. It is not really a TFR, but it's just kind of gives you a box that shows you what they're going to be doing. A couple other ones. You'll notice too here, this is actually some, looks like parachuting or PJ stuff, not Air Force PJ, but just a jump exercise going on that is scheduled from the 23rd to the 5th in that general region. It looks to be low altitude, not Halo stuff. But the other piece too is I noticed this one here. Could that be tied to what just happened today with the release of, as my screens go black there for a second. Sorry about that, folks. I can never get through this without it happening. I'm telling you. Something always takes shape. So, but this is unmanned aircraft schedule, June 14th through December. It's actually just kicked off in June for the year over Dallas. All right. Lots of that stuff going on. We've got all of these, most of these bubbles here that you see in the orange. The reds are our military exercises. Notice there is a bunch of stuff happening here in the United States. Look at the eastern seaboard. Notice the stuff down south of San Diego, and then this stuff that runs right up the coastline there. All right, and then you get over here to Europe, and look at this. It is absolutely incredible, the amount of red boxes. That is military exercise or operations happening. Notice this one up here. This is a big This is where a lot of the NATO exercise stuff is taking shape right now. And then, of course, we just popped a new one off right out here the other day off the coast of Kaliningrad, which is right here. That is the area that's going to be watched closely. And then this box is June 20th to 24th, airspace closed. I don't know what's going on with that. Kind of interesting. But we'll continue to watch it. Again, very, very hot in the region. And this big red box is basically a no-fly zone issued by Russia. Okay. Get over here to Syria. I don't see anything inside here. So this is Syria. This is where a lot of the stuff going on. That's a big new box right over the region. June 23rd, which was yesterday, to September 23rd. And the operation is Nicosia, whatever that means. Let's see. Military aircraft operating under due regard. No transponder within. Oh, wow. So these guys are going dark is what they're saying. So watch out for military aircraft, surface and above, just all the way up. So, okay. That's going to be our NOTAMs and our TFRs for today. Let's get over here real fast. I want to show you that C202 has actually come back to the U.S. He was in France the last time we got together, and now he is in Pensacola, Florida. So, don't know what he is doing, but that is going to be your Secretary of Homeland Security, and he is now out here in the Riviera, so to speak. Okay, on over to early warnings. This is going to be Forward Observer. Just to show you, the ports of Savannah and Houston are starting to back up. We're going to look at that here in just a second. They say there's a pretty big bottleneck, and that the port of Savannah, which normally takes about a half a day to unload, is now taking 8 days to get a boat or a ship in and out. All right, so that has expanded. They say the reason for it is because Los Angeles and Long Beach were backed up, so everybody's been going around the drink to the other side to get their stuff unloaded in the U.S. I will tell you, as you get into it, there are not any type of stuff coming from China. None of that on those ports. They're still coming to the Western Seaboard, or they're not even coming right now. So the fact that they've moved all their activities off to the East Coast shows you they are very disconnected. They don't understand the dynamics of what's going on, because had they just stayed put and done it on the West Coast, they'd be in good shape right now, because nothing's going on the West Coast, because China is not shipping to the U.S. and haven't done so in about 3 months. So let's see what else. This right here, the Biden administration, oil refiners, they have no plan yet. That just goes to show you we are in deep kimchi, folks. Oil prices are going to continue to skyrocket because there is no plan to make it better. This probably is intentional, as always, all right? And then the last thing here, Congress wants to turn off your home appliances. Now, you may know and remember that your TVs and everything around you now, it seems to be smart. Your refrigerators, your washer dryers, so you can talk to them all. Well, the problem with that is that now they have the ability to basically go in and shut your stuff off. If you've ever had a Nest thermostat, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You'll come home and they've decided that you don't need it 78 degrees when you're not there, and they'll jack it upwards of in the 80s, mid 80s, to reduce your energy footprint on your behalf. So anyway, all right, let's get away from that. Let's get over here to the marine side of the house. Let's get in. I want to start off. I want to show you what's going on here in Houston. Notice the tankers, all red, the red dots, red circles, stacked up. Lots and lots of oil stuff coming out of Houston. Of course, most of that is headed across the drink, because we are the #1 exporter for oil. Which didn't know that, and that's in the world, folks. There's Long Beach and LA. This stuff is not coming. That's Taiwan. One of them is Taiwan there, and the other was, I think, Hong Kong or something. But there's nothing to speak of, really. That port is almost empty from a perspective of how it looked 6 months ago, okay? All right. Now we get over here to China. I just want to show you, as I go the wrong direction, what's going on with that. Actually, let's start out. Let's get down into Sri Lanka. Remember, they are in a world of hurt right now, folks. There are 22.4 million people that are without oil, without food, without medicine. They're basically doing a giant burn down, and they're going to start killing each other here shortly because of social unrest. You can't take an island like that with that many people and run them out of everything. And also notice, look how thick that belt is running right up into China as they self-sustain themselves. Yeah, that makes sense, did it? But nonetheless, Shanghai still stacked up. You can see the boats sitting as a stage to go in and out. But of course, everything that's coming out and getting filled is going right back into the China machine. And so, as like I said, they have retooled their stuff and ready for war. So continue to watch this. Now, this is the Russian stuff rolling in and out without any resistance, having a good old time feeding their machine. So notice too, that blank area right here, that seems to be where the mines are set up, where they're trying to keep the Ruskies from getting in and out. And then of course, Constanta, that's our port we're watching. Notice the oil tankers that are sitting out there, and they're starting to back up on the boat side there in Constanta. Pretty crazy. All right, over to the military side of the house from a marine vessel perspective. And let's see what we've got going on. Again, one of the things I've been saying, you'll know when this is all about to go hot because the circles will start becoming arrows. And as you notice, a lot of ships in port, not really anything outside, a lot of circles, right? So either one of two things happen when this goes hot. If they continue to do that, you've got your next set of Pearl Harbors right there because they're all going to get dunked inside their own harbors while they're parked. Or they're going to be out to open sea, which you hope that's the case. You get them out to open sea, but you can look around and see that most of the assets are parked and not moving around. So now this stuff out here, those are anchored. They're parked out in open water. That's really what you want to see if that is the case versus sitting in here and land like this. Okay. All right. On over to Biggs Army Airfield as we look at our troop movements. Now, another slight uptick. I'm seeing significant increase in the amount of troops going abroad. All right. So Biggs Army Airfield, this is right there in the corner of Texas. You can see coming inbound, we've got this one coming in from Guantanamo Bay. That's a troop rotation. This one here coming out of Miami. I don't really know what that could be. That could be troops more than likely, or it could be supplies. That's Atlas Air. And then from there, that Atlas Air went to Indianapolis, and then the National Cargo 57200 that came in from Guantanamo Bay actually went to Moody Air Force Base in Georgia. And then over here to Ramstein. Now check out this board. This is getting kind of crazy. Look at the camber flights coming inbound. So one coming in from England, one coming in from Doha. All right, those are both going to be troops. And then you get over here to the departure board. Notice you got several reach. Those are going to be C-17s that have no destination. So those have been kind of quiet. They don't want anybody knowing what they're doing or tracking where it's going. And those are on the board for departure. And then down here, you've got an Atlas Air headed back to Dover, 747-400. Definitely going to be bringing troops back in the rotation. And then these two, one's headed to Bahrain, and the other's headed to Kuwait. So down, these are both going Middle East. And those are camber flights, all right? Now, if we get over to the board on the camber flights, you're going to notice that this one's coming across the drink. It's coming from Frankfurt, headed back to the U.S. We don't really have an end destination in sight, but it's at currently 36,000 feet at 535 miles an hour, making that arch inbound. So that's the only camber flight we have on the board right now. Let me just double check as I go into all flights to see if anything else has gone airborne. It has not. That's the same one. All right. And then we go back over here to here. I just want to take a look at where these reach aircraft are coming from. Looks like this one's still en route coming out of Ramstein, but it has nothing. Can't even see it. Just totally being masked. So we see it's taken off. You will notice that it came in from Turkey into Ramstein. All right. So Kuwait, Iraq, yeah, things been all over the Middle East. All right, on over here to the Royal Air Force as they are stacked up. We did have a couple drop off the board, but you're going to notice Bangor, Maine, Minneapolis, and Albuquerque. So we got 3 flights coming out of the United States, coming back. I don't know if they were part of an exercise or what the deal was going on. And then everything else looks to be European support-wise, okay? All right. Nothing on the board from a NATO perspective. That's going to be your logistics and supply chain stuff for NATO. They don't have anything flying right now. The Ruskies just went blank. I had 2 flights One was coming down from the Mediterranean side of the house near Turkey, and the other was coming out of Moscow, and they have both gone off the board since, which I am kind of surprised because as I watched those flights, they looked like they were long flights, and I expected them to still be up 30 minutes from now. When I found them 30 minutes ago, they were gone. So, all right, we'll move on. Here are your Omni Air Flights. I only have one left on the board, but we've had two come inbound from this area. And this one's coming from Anderson or Guam, headed into Ventura County. All right, so Oxnard coming inbound. And then the other one actually came out of Japan and was headed inbound, it looked like to Seattle. So that one's has since landed. Again, these are troops. These are all troop rotation stuff. They're either adding to or rotating them out because they've been there for months now, okay? Last one up, and this is the one that always makes me just kind of stop and ponder. I just don't, it's look at the amount of stuff that's interior of the United States. Phoenix upward to Reno. So I don't know what's going on here. These two really got my attention because there's two back-to-back coming inbound from JFK to DFW. That may very well be troops coming inbound. They're just flying them out of JFK. They probably came in from on another flight into JFK, if I had to guess. Typically, when you see them back-to-back ships like that, and I call them ships, but anytime you see two aircraft back-to-back like that flying, especially with Swift Air, that's typically going to be, in most cases, troop-related, all right? And then, of course, we got these that are headed down south of the border. These two here, border-related, that's flying into Valley, all right? Very, very busy, and, of course, this stuff here headed down into Bogota. This one looks to be headed kind of Guatemala, and this one, Bogota, Colombia, all right? Okay, so let's get back over here to our main board, and let's talk just briefly before we roll out what's going on. I would say, given today's news, definitely need to stay frosty, have a plan, and be alert because things I think are going to get stupid going forward. Much as I hate to say that, but we expected it. This is one of the pivot points we've been talking about. In addition to shortages and all the other stuff that's starting to crest, this is one, if you are, like I said at the beginning, if you're going to get out and you're around some of these locations or you're traveling through those locations, just make sure you kind of have a good sense of what's going on and understand other routes if you have to, okay? All right, listen, that's going to be it for today. I thank you for your time, and make sure you keep that powder dry and stay frosty because things are about to get stupid, all right? That's it, folks. And for those, by the way, that gave in the super stickers in the chat, thank you so much. I'm humbled by your kindness, and we cannot do it without you, and it doesn't go unnoticed. So thank you very much. All right, that's it, folks. Stay frosty. We'll talk soon. God bless. Monkey out. Check out the latest gear and products at monkeyworxus.com.